All the pretty girls stand up. All the pretty boys stand up.
Pretty boys in the building.
Sway. This right here is my sway. Sway. All the girls are on me. Damn. Everybody pay attention. This right here is my pretty boy sway. 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 Girls on my brain. When I'm pretty sway. Girl, screw my name. When I'm pretty sway. Pretty boy sway. Pretty boy sway. 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 Girl, on my brain. When I'm pretty boy sway. Girl, screw my name. When I'm pretty boy sway.
Soldier.
Get out the way. Pretty boy coming through.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another stream with Swaggle. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Sunday evening. Maybe you're watching some football right now. I know that in the corner down here on my phone, I have the game pulled up. I'm very, very curious to know who wins, although I don't think we have to question what the NFL scriptwriters want. We all know they want Dazzler in the Super Bowl. First appearance of Dazzler about to blow up once again on the secondary market. But we're not here to talk about football right now. We're here to talk about some interesting stories going on in the comic book collecting world. CGC 9.9 pre-screens coming off of the conversation with West Coast Day Avengers and Matt Nelson and 99 Newsstand Manu, sparring what is in some funny way been a bigger story than almost the Reholder situation was in and of itself. So in this video, we're going to talk about that. We're going to kind of dive in to a few interesting little, tidbits within the conversation, talk about, what the possible effect it could have on the market. I posed the question in the thumbnail, which is, will a 9.9 pre-screen tank the market? Certainly everybody has a lot of different opinions. I would love to hear your guys' opinions in the chat. We're going to have this conversation here today. And then, there's other topics I want to get into. I want to talk maybe a little bit about, some of that interview that we saw. I did do a video where I had some reactions to what was discussed in that interview. And I would love to kind of revisit some of those talking points and maybe talk about, some of the other things coming off of that as well. And then also, we can get into some other topics here and there. We have Echo that came out. We have Madam Web that was about to come out. I don't really know if there's much to talk about them as far as secondary market is concerned, but there are a few little things to discuss. And then, later on, maybe we get into a little bit of some spiciness going on right now as far as the hobby villain Zodiac. Procession is starting to happen once again out there, and I feel like a little tilt in the angle of the Zodiac, possibly moving on to what is the next hobby villain to come. But thank you guys once again for joining me here. Let me say hello to everybody in the chat before we really get underway. Of course, we got Planet Arizona Comics in the house. I GT keyed GT Key. And I think what he means to say is he beat GT Key Comic to the punch, getting the first comment right there. Shout out to you. Shout out to GT Key Comic. We got Luke in the house. Can't you achieve a 9.9 or even a 10 on a pre-screen 9.8 service? All seems a bit redundant, to be honest. Well, Luke, funny that you say that, because that's something that we're going to discuss tonight. We're going to get into it. We're definitely going to get into it. We have the FAQs for CGC pulled up. We're going to read them together, and we're going to ask that very same question. AG in the house right here. Yeah, this is bad news for bronze, copper, and modern for sure. 9.8 has been the real top of the chain for a long time. Yeah. You do wonder, if this could have its effect on some books out there, and certainly it could. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I mean, I would say that I do think this is going to have an effect on maybe some bronze, maybe some copper, probably not as much of an effect as it might have on, modern and copper. I'm gonna break out bronze and copper because I think that there's maybe a little bit of a window between those two. Back to says, why don't you interview a dealer and find out? Well, I mean, maybe I will. Maybe we will have conversations with dealers. Maybe there's going to be dealers in the chat tonight, and we can have the conversation with some of those dealers. You know what I mean? I talk to a lot of dealers, so they definitely give their opinion on this. And I think in some other forums and in my Instagram posts and everything like that, there were a lot of discussions going on with dealers already. So I'll definitely share them later on. We got DJ Ace Boogie in the house. What's going on, DJ Ace? We got Matt in the house. Volcano green, lava one orange. Is that supposed to be like a GIF or something, or like a emoji? I don't know. Vinny Whitlock in the house. Hello, everyone. Hello, Vinny. What's going on, man? Good to see you. You follow up by saying Luke Cage, Ghost Rider, Batman 227, 251, Ra's al Ghul's first appearance, etc. They're all going to suffer a big dip in price if there is a 9.9 screen. Well, those books, you got to wonder if there really would be 9.9s. And frankly, this is the other thing we're really going to talk about. I'm going to save it. I'm not going to go full on right now, but obviously there is some self-awareness with CGC, when they decide to give some of these grades. I mean, maybe it is all like X's and O's out there, but they know, if they're about to give a Marvel Spotlight 5.99, I mean, they're not going to give it lightly. It's going to be a massive conversation in the building, right? So I don't know if those books are going to be as affected, but we'll have to ask those questions. All right, a lot of conversation already going on. Brandon says, "Hey Swag, a quick rating 1 to 10 on Terminator 2. I'm curious, 10 for me. As far as movie rating, well, how do let's determine the scale. Like, 10 is a perfect movie, right? Like 10 has to be literally the greatest movie ever made. 9 is really high up there. I mean, I'd have to really think about it, but I'm willing at this point to give Terminator 2 a 9 off the bat, a 9, maybe a 9.8. We'll give it a 9.8 because a 9.8 is not a perfect book. 9.8 is not perfect. There's a couple spine ticks on 9.8s, as we've come to find out. Three Rivers says, good evening, Three Rivers. Good to see you, man. Ben says, Swag, you're on target. 9.9 pre and everyone jumped from CGC. It's happening now. Wait. Swag, you're on target. 9.9 pre and everyone jumped from CGC. It's happening now. Okay, I see, Ben. So Ben, you agree with me. There's a hubbalub. What is the word? Hubbalub. Why can't I say it? My tongue doesn't work. Hubbaloo. Hubbub in the comic community right now with the whole thing. That's pretty crazy. Binky Sphinx says, I want to know how much cheese they're slicing off for a 9.9 grade and slab. I mean, hey man, Binky, I know you didn't like when I said Pepe Silvia, but this is what we like to say, Pepe Silvia, term of endearment. Who knows, man? Pepe. I mean, you would think that it's pretty. I mean, here's my thing. Like, I think that CGC tries to be upfront, right? They're not really taking backhand deals, but we can't know. We just don't know. There's anecdotal evidence that would suggest some corruption out there. But, sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire. Derek Neiman in the house. Derek, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Channel member. Really, really appreciate you. Quick little shout out to Derek Neiman. Derek, I'm going to share some of those graphs that you sent me. I hope that's okay with you. Because I think that there are some good info in that that's really going to help our conversation. And thank you again for being a channel member. And actually, let me give you guys a little bit of a little more housekeeping. Okay, just a little bit more housekeeping. We're going to get into it. I got to look down here. Look at the scoreboard. We have the Bills moving here. Okay, no spoilers in the chat though. But really quick before we really get into it, of course, guys, like, comment, subscribe. I would really, really appreciate it. You got some cool things here. I got channel memberships like Derek had. You can come down here, be a channel member, help support me, help support the channel, all those things. Also, link in the description. Sanity, Rise of the Occult, V2, a comic book I wrote. Pre-launch page already set up. Follow it in the description if you guys want to check out, this Lovecraftian pulp adventure. We've been talking about pulps. One of the other videos I put out this week was actually a discussion around pulp grading and the potential of what pulps might be. I mean, I don't really know, but again, this is my story that's kind of an homage to that. And then last little channel sponsor, Ultra Pro. You guys know I had a promo code for Ultra Pro, Swaggle. You can save 5%. You go over to ultrapro.com, you go to the scrapbooking area. There's some comic book storage over here. You can click on comic book storage, go down here. Maybe you're a never slabber, you don't want CGC anymore. So you want nice top loaders to protect your comic books. So you can get a top loader over here. They got these UV one-touch magnetic holders. So you can put them in here. It's kind of like a thick Mylar, and they have magnets on it. You can hang it on the wall. It's got UV protection, something that CGC does not have. So they got all sorts of goodies. So you go over here to ultrapro.com. Maybe you like Magic the Gathering too. You could slab some or put some card sleeves on. Do that. Use promo code SWAGGLE. You can save 5%. All right. That was the little housekeeping stuff. Hit that like out there so we can have this good conversation. Okay, I'm going to catch up with everyone's stuff going on right here really quickly. West Coast Dave Vengers in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for stopping in. What's up, my friend? I think the 99 pre-screen is a bunch of BS, and I don't think I realized how distracting that I realized how distracting that until after the interview. Yeah. Okay. Well, West Coast Dave, I think you set us up perfectly to kind of dive into our main conversation that we're going to have tonight. Because frankly, if you've been living under a rock, and you haven't quite heard of what the big news has been about, well, celebrity in the chat, West Coast Dave Vengers on his YouTube channel had a fantastic interview with Matt Nelson. You can see West Coast Dave's channel right here. This interview came out just 5 days ago, where it was an exclusive conversation with Matt to talk about the Reholder gate situation. And of course, I'm sure you guys know, the Reholder CGC situation by now. So, we can have those conversations. But what was really interesting about this particular interview is that, ironically, the spiciest thing to come out of this conversation was not anything with regards to the Reholder situation, but essentially the spiciest thing to come out was that Matt mentioned that they had been looking into a pre-screen 9.9, a potential pre-screen 9.9. And boy, oh boy, did everyone just go bananas on this. We had as R.A. Bosenberg says, the hullabaloo, in the comic book community, everybody losing their minds, just, going bananas over what could potentially be, dare I say, collecting, shattering, changing. Or is it not that big a deal? Well, we're going to talk about it. But anyways, Dave and Manu had this conversation, and that really caused a big stir. Now, I did a reaction to that video, and I actually mentioned, saying how that might be the spiciest thing. The 9.9 pre-screen might be the spiciest thing to come out, and certainly that was. Now, we're really going to get into it, and I got to pat myself a little bit on the back, guys. I got to pat myself a little bit on the back, because look at this right here. A month ago, I tried to warn you 1 month ago. 9.9s are becoming the new 9.8. There I was flashing my 9.8 Darkhawk, making a joke about how it was now going to be worthless because they're going to have Darkhawk 199s coming out. So this caused a big stir. And really, a lot of people voiced their opinions in the community about this. And I wanted to share Comic Rookie's a video right here. Actually, I didn't do a test, guys. I wanted to share what Comic Rookie had to say. He tagged me in this post. I thought it was a really well put, and we can kind of go into some of the technicalities of what the pre-screen is. But can you guys hear this? If I play this, can we get a little sound check right now? What if I play this right here?
Hi, comic community. How are you guys? I just listened to the interview.
Do you guys hear that? I'm going to doing a little test down there, doing a little test. Yeah. West Coast, Dave, you know this video. Yeah, you commented there. He has a great point for sure. You guys hear this video?
Matt Nelson by West.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not. Yes, but it's low. Okay. Well, I'll spare you guys. Anyways, the point was that shouting out to Comic Rookie here, he made mention with a pre-screen, a 9.8 pre-screen, in case you guys don't know, 9.8 pre-screen, I mean, you send in a books to CGC and you say, hey, I would like a 9.8 or better. I would like a 9.8. And if it's not a 9.8, then send it back to me. And they have this system on their website. Now, Comic Rookie pointed out in his little rant right there that he said, hey, isn't the point of a pre-screen that they can give you a 9.8 or better anyways? Thus, therefore, you could be getting 9.9s already within context of that pre-screen. What are you paying CGC for anyways? Because I think the big thing about what Matt said specifically was that he said you would have to maybe pay a little bit of a premium for a 9.9 pre-screen so that the graders would spend extra time looking at your book. And I think that was really the thing that probably upset the community quite a bit. And, really quick before we continue on, shout out to Matt. I mean, I already said in my review of the video that I said, hey, it took a lot for him to come on to those guys' show and to give the answers that he did, and he didn't have to do it. So, we gotta pay a little bit of respect, and we got to be happy that he did make some mention about some stuff. And I would say that, like, again, this is all just him shooting from the hip off the cuff. This is not an official PR, press release for this service. So he might have just said something that, they're spitballing this stuff internally in the building. And, this could be one of those things where, of course, they kick around this idea of a 9.9s pre-screen. And, frankly, when the community is up in arms about it, and it's like, that is ridiculous. How could they do a 9.9 pre-screen? I mean, technically, your pre-screen should be giving 9.9s anyways. This is one of those things that they say, oh, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe that was a bad idea. So we gotta understand that this is right now not actually a thing, but doesn't mean we can't talk about it. But anyways, that was the point, is that, the community was really upset because, essentially he said, oh, you're going to pay a premium for graders to spend extra time looking at your book. But what were you paying CGC for anyways? What was the point? Not only just to grade your book, but also the pre-screen aspect. Because as we know from CGC, what they claim they do is every book starts at a 10 and then you work your way down. Every book starts at a 10 and then you work your way down. Thus, every single book at one point has the potential to get a 10.0. So it stands to reason that when you're doing 9.8 pre-screens, some of those books should be getting 9.9s and 10s already. So what is the point of having a 9.9 pre-screen? Why would you have to pay a premium for that? Why do you have to pay graders extra money to spend more time looking at books? This is what they should be doing anyways. Isn't that the point? 99 Newsstand says, what's going on, Manu? I always said the 9.9 grading was screwed. I mean, let's get into it. Let's take a look right here, guys. I had it pulled up. CGC Comics website. CGC Comics website. This is the FAQ. CGC pre-screen service. Here it is, guys. All of our questions will be answered. What is pre-screen service? Pre-screening allows you to submit multiple books for grading while requesting that only those that achieve a certain grade or higher are slabbed. A certain grade or higher. Okay. What grade can I request when submitting for pre-screen service? Your choice. Any grade up to 9.8. CGC does not pre-screen for 9.9s and 10s. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting because they say they don't pre-screen for 9.9s and 10s. But the question is why? 9.9s and 10s are a part of their grading scale. So why wouldn't you pre-screen for it? Unless, of course, you have to now pay more to spend more time to look at it to get the 9.9 or 10. So it's very confusing with this. And here's the thing. Here's the thing, guys. Let's be honest with ourselves for a second, okay? Let's rewind the clock. Story time. Let's go back to when CGC started, okay? And they came up with this scale. This is a fictional story, by the way. I don't actually know if this is true. This is just my speculation story. They came up with this scale. And they said to themselves, you know what? We shouldn't give 10s because nothing is perfect, right? Nothing's really perfect. So ipso facto, 9/8 are going to be perfect. We're just going to do 9/8. And they just sort of decided that that was going to be the case. And then somewhere along the ways, every now and again, they kind of said, hey, wouldn't it be fun to give a book a 9/9 or a 10? Yeah, that'd be fun. And they did. And guess what? It was fun. Every now and again. It was fun. Iron Man 1, big premiere issue. 1968, CGC 9.9. Wow. Captain America 100, 1968, CGC 9.9. Oh, it was fun. It is fun to see 9/9s. But then somewhere along that way, they kind of just said, do we really need to give 9/9s anymore and 10s? People just want 9/8s. Everyone's just going for a 9/8. Everyone knows the 9/8s are perfect. 9/8s are the thing. So just give them 9/8s. I mean, if you send in a book to CGC and you get a 9/8, you're going to be happy. You're not going to go like, that was a 9/9. Of course you wouldn't, because they don't give 9/9s because it's a myth. 9/9s and 10s don't feel real. They're like fictitious. It's like, it's non-canon, in my opinion. You know what I mean? It's like, they're not real. So they just stopped actually giving books 9/9s and 10s. Let's be honest. You know, if you're over there, you're grading. Like, could you, in theory, give a book a 9/9? Absolutely. Absolutely you could. But why? Like, what if you're grading a Hulk 181 and you're like, God damn, this book is perfect. This book is a 9.9. Like, do you really want to like call your boss and call Matt Nelson and say, Matt, you got to come down here and check out this book. You got to come downstairs right now. You know what I mean? And then Matt's like, oh God. You know, he has to walk all the way down. He has to look at this book. And then he has to say like, yeah, you're right. It's a 9/9. And then they have to say, there's only one 9/9 on the census. Are we really about to greenlight a second 9/9? Are we really about to do this? Like, do we really want to do this? Because Swaggle House is going to make a video about how there's a new Hulk 181 9/9 on the census. And then everyone's going to make memes about it. And it's going to be all over Instagram. You know what I mean? Do we really want to do that? No, we don't. Let's just give them a 9/9. And frankly, the person who sent in that book is stoked that they got a 9/8. Or did I say 9/9? Let's just give them a 9/8. And the person who sent in that book is going to be happy that they got a 9/8. So what's the problem? So this is what happened. I mean, I don't know. This is me, tinfoil hat, Pepe, Sylvia Town, speculation. I don't know what happens in that building. But I can assume if I think about it and recognize that the people that work at CGC and the people that grade over at CGC are human too. And this is a job for them and it's work for them. And they're worried about lunch and they're worried about, you know, their kids, picking them up from daycare, and they're worrying about going home and making dinner. And, you know, they're worried about the next day at school and helping little Timmy with his homework and all of that stuff. Okay. They don't need to add a 9/9 to the census. So anyways, that's my little story. So somewhere along the way, that's what happened, right? Where they're just like, 9/8s are the thing. And like, let's just not give 9/9s and 10s because it becomes a thing. It's going to become a thing. But now here we are. You know, there's a reason why we're hitting this new frontier, this new crossroads, revenue stream, potential, why the chicken has come home to roost. Is that the saying? We've hit the point where now the question is, hey, why aren't there 9/9s? You know, we've been getting away with this for a decade. We've been all okay doing this for 10 years. And then you got people like Manu asking the tough questions. Where are the 99 UF4s? And it's like, hey, that's a good question. Where are they? And now they have to answer. Now they have to answer. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit more. In just a second, okay? We're going to talk about that in just a second. We're going to explain to you exactly, but let's carry on here with these FAQs. What minimum grade should I choose when submitting through pre-screen service? CGC will accept a pre-screen at any grade level except 9, 9, and 10. You should choose a minimum grade that meets your collecting needs and goals. The official CGC Guide to Grading Comics, written by CGC President Matt Nelson, is an excellent resource for learning how to evaluate the condition of comic books. If I select pre-screen grade of 9.0, will any of my books grade above 9.0? If a comic book that is a 9.6 is submitted through a pre-screen 9.0, the comic book would be certified as a CGC 9.6. The pre-screen grade is simply the minimum grade requested for CGC to certify the comic book per your instructions. CGC certifies many comics submitted through pre-screen at grades much higher than the pre-screen grade chosen. So again, it's very confusing because why don't they allow 9, 9, and 10 pre-screens to begin with? Now, if I'm going to be charitable to them, I wonder if there's some weird thing at their company where can they get away with a service where they don't actually do anything? Like they say to you, hey, here's a pre-screen 9.9, and you send them 20 books and they say none of them qualify. Thank you for your business. Here is your books returned to you with technically nothing done to them. Is there like some issue there? Like as a company, like can they like not actually do that? Is there like some weird thing that they have to actually provide in order to charge you what they're charging you? Maybe that's what it is. So maybe they can't technically offer that. Or does it really take the graders more time to look at a book to give them a 9, 9, and 10? It probably does, because they probably have to run it up the flagpole, right? If you're a random McRandom grader there and you got a UF4 in your hand, let's be honest, you're not allowed to give a book a 9.9. No way. No way are you allowed to do that. You have to ask everyone else. And then other people have to look at it. And as we've already established from other, talks about what they guarantee is that they say 2 people are going to look at it. And 2 people are like, you random McRandom grader and random McRandom grader number 2 sitting next to me. You know what I mean? So at that point, we're going to need 3 people to look at it. There's just no way. There's no way you can be allowed to give a book a 9.9 as a junior grader. That's again, Pepe Sylvia Town. That's my speculation, but that has to be what it is, right? That has to be what it is. What are you guys talking about here in the chat? Roger says, these comments have been fire. Swaggle, can I please give you? Love this page. Gotta go, guys. Love this community. Roger, thank you. Thank you for that. I'm going to let you guys continue to comment. West Coast Dave says, look, the more money you spend with CGC, the more things happen in your favor. It's that simple. Kamikaze says, if in fact the book is a 9.9, regardless of a pre-screen, it should hit that. Feels like a cat grab to me. Did you guys know that I did an excellent video yesterday talking about Schrodinger's cat? It's a very, very good video. I don't know if Kamikaze misspelled cash or if he actually meant cat, but it's very, very interesting. So this brings us over now to the thing that Derek sent me. And I thought that this was really, really interesting. This is a graph, guys. Now, I realize it's a lot of numbers and it's hard to see. And oh God, hard to see. But if you, I should probably pull it up. This is a graph that Derek sent to me. All right. This is a lot of numbers, hard to see. I realize it's not going to be able to make a lot of sense to you guys, but bear with me on this one. Okay. Stay with me on this just for a second. Let's see if I can. All right. This is as big as it's going to get. Let me explain to you in general what this is. This is from a website, cgcdata.com or something like that, that Derek sent to me. This right here is all of the universals that CGC has given. Okay. All of the universals. And you can see that it's broken out by era. So you have the books from the 2010 or 2020s. You have books from the 2010s, 2000s, 1990s, 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, etc. Okay. And you can see the distribution. How many 1930s books are 10s? Well, there's 0. How many 1940s books are 10s? Well, there's 1. How many 2020s books are 10s? There's 2,895. Now, the important thing to point out in this graph is here in the 2020s, you can see that the 2020s, which mind you, we are in the year 2024. So as far as decades are concerned, this is only 4 years compared to the other decades that have 10 years of data. This decade alone already has 11,455 99s. That is the most 99s compared to any other decade. Now, let's go over here to the other side of the graph. How many submissions have actually occurred for every single decade? Meaning, how many books, say in the 1960s, have been submitted to CGC? Well, here you see 1 million. Then you see in the 70s, 1.2 million. Then the 80s, 1.4 million. Then the 90s, 1.1 million. Then the 2000s, 683,000. There's not a lot of keys in the 2000s, guys. Then in the 2010s, 1.3 million UF4s. All of them are basically UF4. And then 2020s here, you have 1.16 million. Swag, I'm confused. Explain to me what you mean by that. In the 4 years that we exist in this decade right now, in the 2020s, there are already as many submissions to CGC for books that came out in these last 4 years than there are for every other single decade of books that have gone to CGC. Do you guys follow? Does that make sense? There are more books, as many books in these 4 years that came out the last 4 years that have been submitted to CGC than the other decades from the entire time that they've been submitting to CGC. So if we are to assume that in the next 6 years, that number will double, that there will be twice as many books that came from this decade alone that go to CGC than the other decades. Well, what does that mean? That means where the money is are modern comic books going to CGC. They make way more money slabbing modern comic books than they would ever dream to make slabbing bronze books or copper or silver or golden age books. Now, the price to submit is a little bit cheaper for modern. So maybe the golden age books that have a 3 or 4%, maybe there's a bigger pie right there. But I feel like it's all those microtransactions. If microtransactions in video games taught me anything, those are the ways you really, really make money. It's all those $1 little, give me like 5 gems for my Clash of Clans thing. You know, that stuff adds up. So where are we going with this? What is the point with all this? Comic books in the 2020s, like they have to start to open it up to allow these books to get 9 9s and 10s, because it begs the question. These books are literally coming off of the press, straight from Diamond Distribution, straight to CGC, maybe through some retailer who like is straight sending them in via like 9.9 or 9.8 pre-sales, right, to like their customers. And they're going straight to CGC. So not even sitting on the shelf, like straight from manufacturer, straight to CGC's slab factory. So like, where are the 9.9s? You know what I mean? Where are the 10s? Like they're straight from the press. So this is something that has been knocking on CGC's door as we are now in this, well, we call it modern. We really need a new name, guys, for this. Okay, we really need a new name for like the 2000s. Can we just call that like, what do we call it? Like the whatever metal age? Is it just a metal age? The foil age? You know, can we call it the MCU age? you know, whatever it is, whatever that age. And now we're in this 2020s age where they're getting all this new business. And it stands to reason. Like, of course, they have to have 9/9s and 10s. This is like the biggest new revenue stream for them. I mean, they're going to get so many submissions. They get more submissions now than every other single era. So that explains why they eventually have to consider doing 9/9 prescreens. Now, the question is, at least on the thumbnail, is does this affect the market? Does this tank the comic book market? We don't know. We can't really know, right? We can't really know. People have said different things. Some people think it will. Some people think it won't. Some people think that we'll just have 9/9 prescreen, etc., and you'll just be able to send it to CGC. And they're just not going to give you any 9/9s, and they're going to take your money. I mean, like that might be what it is. I don't think that's what it is, because like, there's no way, guys. Like, there's no way that they're just going to like not give you a 9/9. I mean, they might if you don't know how to grade. Like, frankly, if you don't know how to grade and you're sending in 9/9 prescreens, like you're not going to get 9/9 prescreens. But I know people in the chat right now. There's tons and tons of people who are excellent graders who time and time again get 9/8s. So I know you guys are going to be able to identify 9/9s and 10s. Like 100%, you guys are going to be able to do that. So that said, though, some people think that they're just not going to give any 9/9s. And so don't worry, it's not going to affect the market. But I think it is going to affect the market. And it doesn't take much for the market to be affected. Let's talk about this book right here. Everyone's favorite book, New Mutants 98. First appearance of Deadpool. Okay? Who won the game, by the way? Did KC win? I didn't even see the end, but I know Taylor Swift is going to the Super Bowl. All right? She's going to appear in Deadpool, and Dazzler's going to go to the moon. I'm being facetious. Don't buy Dazzler. It's too late to buy Dazzler. Wait till after the movie. Anyways, let's talk about this book right here. 24,159 universal copies. 110 on the census. Has that ever sold? Oh my God. Go collect. I was in the middle of the stream. Go collect. You're going to make me log in again. I had the dramatic pause. I was ready for it. All right. 10-0 copy. Has it ever sold? No, it hasn't. At least not in Go Collect system. 9/9s. Let's take a look at this. How many 9/9s are there of this book? As you can see, there's a lot of books, so it takes a while to load. But we're going to get there, guys. We're going to get there. I believe in Go Collect. I believe you are going to pull up. Cameron says, Chiefs won. Chiefs won, of course. Guys, do we not think, how badly do you think that the NFL would love to see Taylor Swift, kissing Travis Kelce at the 50-yard line as confetti rains down for another Super Bowl trophy for Kansas City, the dynasty, the 3-time champions? I mean, that would be an image for the ages. Guys, Go Collect. What is this? What is this? I know the internet works. Okay. Anyways, let's. I don't need to open it up, guys. 9/9s here. There are 12 on the census. The last sold one was June of 2023 for $40,000. How many 9/8s are on the census? 4,262. What is the 30-day moving for the 9/8? 1258. You mean to tell me of these 4,262 9/8s, you mean to tell me there ain't 12? There ain't 12 in this little batch that can get little pressed up to be a 9/9? You mean tell me? No way. And so what would happen? What would happen if just 0.1% of 4,200 were added to be 99s on the census? Well, if you double the census, you probably cut the fair market value in half. So you go from $40,000 to $20,000. Right? I mean, would it absolutely hurt the values of certain comic books? 1,000%. 100% it would hurt the values of certain comic books. I'm going to be honest. I never tell you guys what to buy or what to do or whatever. And again, this is not a real thing. This is purely conversation right now. The 99 prescreen doesn't actually exist. It's just talked about. So we don't actually know if this is a thing. But if I was somebody who had a 99 New Mutants 98 or a 99 X-Men 266 or a 99 ASM 300 or a 99, what other 99s are there? Anything Copper Age or Modern Age, I'd be a little bit worried. I'd be a little bit worried with my book. I might look at that, good old eBay listing. I might call up one of those consignment pages. I'm just saying. Here's the other thing too. I know I'm being jokey and facetious. Okay, I had 4 cups of coffee today, guys, so forgive me. And I'm pumped because the Niners won. Ultimate Fallout number 4. This, again, all started with Manu asking the question, Matt, there's 16,000 universal copies. There's 4,100 9/8s. Very, very similar census to New Mutants 98. Tens of thousands and 4,000 of which are 9/8. Where is the UF499? And he kind of implied there's probably ones out there. There probably are UF4s out there that are 9/9s. And so does that mean that would hurt the value of this book? Absolutely. Not only would it hurt the perceived value of this book, but let's say that of these 9/8s, you get 5. Let's be conservative. 3. 3 of them that get pressed up to 9/9. Well, if I was a UF4 Jurjevic holder, who had this book, the 1 in 25, and the reason why I wanted this book was because it was more rare, because the 9/8s for this are 187. And that's why I spent $15,000 on my copy. I would be sweating as well. Because if all of a sudden the cover A has a more exclusive grade where there's like 3 9/9s on the census, well, the reason people pay for this is because they want the best, right? And part of being the best is being the rarest. So if you add 9/9s of UF4, all of a sudden you dilute whatever this book perceived status is. And the reason that is the case is because there's already UF4 newsstands, right? There's UF4 cover A newsstands that sell for a lot as well. I think that there was a private sale. Don't quote me on this, but I think that there was a private sale that sold in the tens of thousands for the 9/8. I think it was listed on Elite, and I think the person ended up selling it, the newsstand version of this. So if you start to add 9/9s to the census, it takes away some of the allure of a book like this, because it's all about rarity and scarcity. So to add into that idea of like, does it affect the value? Absolutely. Absolutely, it would affect the value. And then you start to get into that whole, like, we know what it is, guys. Like the perception that the community already has of 9/8s versus 9/6s. I mean, you start to add some 9/9s in there. I mean, man, You know what I mean? Like everybody, people got to have the best. People got to have the best. And if you start to add 9.9s, you know, maybe it's not that many. Maybe it's like 100, but still 100. Then yeah, of course it's going to make your 9.8 feel like, this is 9.8. Same thing with like a 9.6. You know, people already feel like that about a 9.6. You know what I mean? So not just in terms of flooding the census with 9.9s for certain books, but also the perception of your book. Nobody flexes their modern 9.6s. And there's a reason for that, because we all know it's not the best. So all those things have to be taken into consideration, I think, if CGC actually decides to go through with this on a pre-screen 9.9. Now, again, to what I was saying before with Derek's thing, it is something that they have to decide if they need to start doing it for books that have come out circa 2020 and from now on into the future, right? Like, what are they going to do about it? I mean, we live in this era where, like I was saying back then, it's like literally these books come off the printer straight through Diamond back to CGC. You know what I mean? So like, how is it that there's not 9.9s and 10s? And the answer is there are 9.9s and 10s. There are, but they just haven't given them. So now they have to. You know what I mean? Let me check in with you guys here. Chat's going off. Thank you guys. I hope this has been interesting so far. You know, I'm kind of just going on a little bit of a rambly rant here. Bronzeville says, the question for CGC, what is the probability that a Batman Adventures 12 gets a 9.9? There are 1,232 9.8s and 0 9.9s. See, that's the problem. That's the thing, is that there are 9.9s. It's just the company has decided probably just not to give them. And maybe that's okay. You know what I mean? Maybe that's okay. It's like, I bet if CGC could like wave a magic wand and go back in time and start everything from the beginning of their census and everything like that, they would have said, you know what? Let's just make 10s 9.8s. You know what I mean? Like, if a book is perfect, it's perfect. Or maybe they would have said like, hey, let's just like, instead of 9.8, let's just do 9.9s. You know what I mean? And on the rare exception, it's like a 10. They probably would do that. But I think we are where we are, right? We are where we are. And therefore, there's no 9.9s, excuse me, of Batman Adventures 12. And frankly, even though it's not technically true, they probably should just keep it that way. You know what I mean? They probably should just keep it that way, because this is what the community has kind of decided. And this is how everything has kind of operated so far. So it makes sense to just let it be. And what they do about modern books, I think that they just take a little bit of the heat. You know what I mean? Like, you want to send in a new modern book and give it a 10, just give it a 10. And everyone's going to be like, well, how could there be 10s? It's like, you know what? It's a new modern book. Printing has gotten really, really good, guys, in the last 4 years. And so now we're going to give that. And I think that that'll be okay. It's not perfect, right? It's messy. But this is the hobby we've inherited. And therefore, it's probably the hobby that kind of just needs to be what it is. Now, there's some other interesting things, though, because it does beg the question of, what about the other grading companies? Where do they stand on this stuff? You got to ask the question, too. CBCS, where are their 9.9s? You know what I mean? Do they have any Ultimate Fallout 4 9.9s on the census? Why not? Why not? You know, frankly, I mean, they launched their new labels, right? The 10s and the 9.9s and stuff like that. Wouldn't that be badass to see a UF4 10 with that like CBCS, like gold and black label? Why wouldn't they give a book a 10? CBCS, what are you guys doing? Give these books 10s, man. They would be awesome. And everyone would go nuts for them. And somebody would pay the premium. But that's a whole other thing. But it is interesting to think about that. Like where are their 9/9s and 10s? Why haven't they given books 9/9s and 10s? Frankly, it's because we've just accepted 9/8s are what it is. We've just accepted it. It just 9/8s are perfect. 9/9s and 10s, it's fugazi. You know what I mean? It's fugazi. Though they still do get premiums, which is wild. I did see the Wolverine one. There was a heritage auction that just happened. The Wolverine one Frank Miller book, limited series. If you guys saw my little short I did about the Captain America 100 and I made fun of it, I looked at that Wolverine one. It's a really nice book. I mean, it is perfect. So there are books that you could understand are 9/9s, you know, perceivably, but then it just begs the question, like then certainly there's more. Dave says, I'm not going to reach out to consignment pages, selling apps, or anyone anymore because no one wants to take any responsibility for what they're selling. Dave, this is a whole other conversation. A very, very, very good one. And it's you know, this is the next thing. Guys, we gotta, I don't know if there's anything else with the 9/9s, but we gotta talk about some of the other topics here. And Dave, you kind of set me up on this one. It's a little bit different, but let's talk about it here. You know, I made this post today, shared some memes. I thought they were funny. CGC president on 9/9s. I used the controversy to destroy the controversy. You know, using the interview of Reholder Gate to create a new controversy. That's a 4D chess right there. 9/9 Prescreen, comic collector outrage, Reholder Gate. And then the hobby villain Zodiac, guys. The hobby villain Zodiac. It's cyclical, guys. You know, it goes from CGC to then influencers, then key collector. It's been a while since key collector's been the hobby villain. That'll be a little good run, you know. Nick, it's coming for you soon, Nick. And then we're going to go back to whatnot. And then it'll be back to CGC. But you can feel procession again starting to happen where CGC, you know, it's moving over now to influencers. All of a sudden, you know, the influencer stuff, people in you know, the internets and stuff are, you know, taking some of the blame. I mean, avert your eyes, guys. Avert your eyes. I'm not going to read that out loud. Okay. I don't know what was in Manu's head when he made this post, but I have a feeling that he was being facetious about getting some not so nice comments about the not tough questions that maybe he did not ask, you know? And it's really, really interesting. Okay, I'm gonna drop this shtick for a little bit. It's really interesting how in this whole situation, this whole story, and I realize I'm biased. I have a YouTube channel, okay? But let me just stick with me. How I find it so fascinating that there's a subset of the community that kind of has that whole like, guys, it's not a big deal, get over it mentality. And I gotta say, that is mind-blowing to me, okay? Are there people out there who are never slabbers, who have taken this thing to heights that it shouldn't have been taken to? Yeah, of course. Is 350 comics, I understand. It's more than 350. Okay. Is 1,000 comics? Is 2,000 comics? Is 10,000 comics not that much relative to the millions that have been graded? Meaning the chances that you buy one of these books is pretty low? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, it's small. But is this not a big deal? Hell yeah, it's a big deal. Like, what are we talking about here? Like this idea that there's people that are like, they said their piece, now get over it. Like, I can't believe that. Like, let's not pretend for a second. Okay, let's not pretend for a second that if this were the big story in any other thing in the entire world, movies, sports, music, politics, freaking big game fishing, whatever their big game fishing story is, you don't think the people in that community would be talking about it for a long time? Guys, this thing has been going on for 3 weeks. Let's repeat that. It's been going on for only 3 weeks. Only 3 weeks. And people are like, that's old news. That was 3 weeks ago. That was 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago? What are we talking about? On top of that, we just had this interview on Dave's channel. That was 5 days ago. Of course, people are still talking about this thing. But no. Everyone is just, farm, just everyone's talking about it and all this stuff and everything. Get over it. I just find that so crazy to me. I find that so crazy. And it kind of goes into what Dave kind of mentioned with some of the dealer stuff. And yeah, there's some cringe stuff out there. There's some cringe stuff in the wake of this, right? You see very, very clearly some dealers say nothing, and then all of them, they're very quick to share the CGC response, but they say nothing the whole time. And it's a little bit like, okay, dude. Okay. Okay. But on the flip side of that, it's also okay if you have nothing to say. It's also okay if you have nothing to say, right? The other end of it, which I think causes this like feeling from, let's just say it's dealers right now that have issue with it. Like get over it. Okay. This is my business. I still like CGC. Like there are so many people that they hear the never slappers who just go off on this stuff. And it's ridiculous. It's like the never slappers. It's just like they use this as like, this is our moment, like they go nuts. And it's like, yeah, okay, guys. Okay. Like this isn't, maybe this is just what it is. Maybe he's the only scammer. No, dude. There's tons of, it's like they go crazy with it. So I think they hear that and then they have like the get over it attitude. And it's just like, I don't understand like why people take issue with people talking about it. And then on the flip side, again, I don't understand why people take issue with people not talking about it. I made the joke with, shout out to Drew. I know Drew's in the chat. I made the joke with Drew that was like, let's just pick on Drew, guys, for the sake of this. Because Drew, you've been awfully quiet about 99 pre-screens, okay? You've been awfully quiet about this. You go out there making lists of comics you want to collect videos, but you're not making 99 pre-screen videos. Your silence tells me everything. I think sometimes we have to understand like what our relationship with the people that we consume their stuff, watch, whether it's a dealer or a YouTuber or Instagram person or whatever, or an LCS or a grading company. I think people have like a preconceived notion of what that person is, and then what that person thinks that they are and what they owe might be something different. Like the analogy I give is it'd be like, imagine a barbecue cooking show. It was like a Texas barbecue cooking show. And like, there's a celebrity chef who teaches you how to cook barbecue. And then there's somebody out there that says, oh, barbecue show, why haven't you commented on the corruption within the meat industry yet? Because it's a barbecue cooking show. What do you want from them? They make barbecue cooking content. They don't have anything to say about corruption in the meat industry. And I think that that's just very, very interesting. Okay. It's a funny thing that people have different understandings and ideas of what they do. Whether it's a dealer who just sells you books, that's what they do. They're not concerned with this stuff. It's a YouTuber, it's an Instagram, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, it's just really, really funny. And I don't know. I'm not trying to defend anyone. I'm just shooting from the hip and thinking out loud in front of 200 people who are watching my stream right now. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for watching. All right, let's check back in the chat right here. Let's check back in the chat. What 10 should have always been used instead of a 9.8. I agree, Miguel. And again, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, again, if they could wave a magic wand, I feel like they would 100% go back and just make it a 10. Like, why? Unless there's a reason for this, you know what? Frankly, I don't know. I don't know how the grading system was created. So maybe there was a logical reason why they decided to do 9.8s. I mean, clearly in their grading handbook, they do have things as to why they did it. But I wonder if they could start it all again, would they change that? Derek says, ChatGPT, write me a cease and desist to Grails in the parlance of Johnny Cochran. Let's talk about Grails for a second. Listen, I've made content about Grails on this channel before. I like the guys. I've met the guys. I've had pleasant interactions with them this entire time. I think you guys are talking about the acetate book that they listed recently, which again, you know, the more things change, the more they stay the same, man. You know, that book just never goes away. Just never goes away. It always keeps coming back. I don't know what to say about that. You know, like it's one of those things where the standard I have for myself isn't necessarily the standard I would hold for other people. This is my own opinion. Would I sell that book? No, I wouldn't sell it. Do I fault them for selling it? No. I mean, if that's their bit, they want to sell it, they can sell it. You know what I mean? If I went into my LCS and they were selling, I'd be like, all right, you know, I wouldn't sell it personally, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Scary says, AI should be doing the grading. AI should be doing grading. I don't know if it's as simple as AI can, like, they can make that happen. There's a lot of discussion in the card world that AI can be doing grading for them. And maybe there's a version where it could be AI assisted grading for comic books. Again, they got to open up the comic book. They got to look through all the pages. So it's more complicated than a card. But again, keep your ears to the ground. There might be stuff in the future that is going to come out. Neo says AI isn't ready yet. I mean, it's not ready yet. 100%. It's not there yet. I had a conversation with Gene from Shortbox, the CEO of Shortbox. We did a Swagglcast episode, and we talked about AI grading. And he said his thing was, it's unfortunate that CGC didn't from the beginning set themselves up to make it happen, because he said it's going to take so many inputs to make a accurate AI grading system that you would have you would have had to have been in a situation where, like, you could take the annals of CGC's, taking a picture of every single book and what grade they actually gave it, and then you could have taught that AI, program, like, oh, here are all of these books, and here are the grades that they got. Now, it's possible that maybe Heritage you could get Heritage's library of image scans. I mean, that's really what you need. You need inputs, as many as possible, in order for it to be accurate. It's obvious CGC's grading standards have changed, and 10 used to be 9.8. Go look at the Mile High Zip Comics number 799. Notes right center front cover, small crease, top spine, small crunch, breaks color 9.9. Yeah. Somewhere along the way, things changed. And it's interesting too, because, you know, even with Matt coming out with his grading guide, it's like Matt wasn't always at CGC, right? Like, he didn't start the company. So there was a grading standard before he became sort of the head grader that defined what is now their standard. So clearly, like, their grading has changed or evolved, I should say, throughout the course of their company. Like, that's just, it has to have been that way, unless Matt had nothing to do with the grading guide, which of course that doesn't seem to be true. I hope AI is more focused on building T800s than learning to grade comic books. That would be worse. That is the ultimate doomsday scenario. Drew. Wouldn't AI compare the book to photos of other graded books, which means it should be in line with previous grading on average? Yeah, well, I think that's the idea, right? Is that you would need to have you need to have a bunch of inputs, a bunch of samples, so that so the program can learn from, here is a book previously, and then this is the grade that it got. So keep following this standard of grading. And then, you know, it does beg the question of, like, you know, whoever programs the AI, I mean, it's just going to have the CGC grading standard. And maybe people out there, that's not good enough for them. Now, this is a whole other interesting discussion, because a lot of people say that there's no difference between 9.8s and 9.6s and 9.9s and all that sort of stuff. I actually do think that there is a difference. I actually do think, based on the book that CGC has put out, they definitely have a system that has terms of what those differences are. The problem is that you have humans who call balls and strikes. It's just like baseballs. There's the analogy right there. There is a strike zone, and there are rules that define a strike zone, but you have different umpires every single game. And they have biases and preferences and tendencies that they lean on versus other umpires. And this is why in baseball, it's been such a hot button issue to have AI call strikes and balls. You know what I mean? So while AI, I think, would very much benefit CGC, an AI assist thing, it's still going to be grading to the standard in which CGC itself has set. So some people may not be happy about that. But what I will say is that CGC does have a standard. It's just that their standard isn't always lived up to. They're like the Captain America. You know what I mean? Captain America wants to live up to the standard of America. It's just that America doesn't always live up to the standard itself. There you go. Come on, Blue. That was a strike. Come on, Billy. That was a 9-9. That's what we should be yelling. Imagine a world where they had grading games. You could be heckling the grader. Be like, Billy. Come on up. Give him a 10. I think I'm going to move on from that. I have seen some AI art that can't even spell things right, so I'm not going to trust it for grading right now. Well, I mean, there's AI that does really good things. There's AI within the StreamYard right now that's working. You know, so AI programs are different. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. I agree. There are some differences. Now, sometimes you can't see those differences, or one grader doesn't hold something against the grade where another person may. Yeah, I think that there are tendencies because we're human. And I think that there's a guide, but yeah, not everyone always lives up to the guide. And it does depend on who you get sometimes. We're definitely going to have a lot of corrupt people trying to do the same scam. A lot of bad eggs out there. We need a secondary way of variation for identifying the slab, AI app, or CGC app. Yeah, that was, I think, the other part. Again, just going back to the summary I had of the interview, where it felt like no real discussion about what the slabs are going to need to do if they need to change. Now, in my video, and I took some flack for it, my video, I said, let me be clear. I said it's possible that CGC doesn't think that their slab is an issue. And again, this becomes a very, very big, like, now we're talking like, what is the slab to CGC? Is it something that needs to be high security? Is that what the slab is? Or is the slab just a piece of plastic that holds the number that they guarantee is an authentic collectible? So even if a slab can be opened and you could, in theory, trick somebody at a show, you could open a slab, swap in a different book, set up at a con, and sell to a newer buyer who doesn't know what to look for, the fake book. Like, absolutely, that could happen. But is that CGC's problem? I mean, it is. I know you guys are like, of course it's CGC's problem. But you can make the argument it's kind of not their problem, because they may not be worried about security. Anyways, people didn't like that. But I'm just trying to call it like I see it and say, I don't know if they think that they have to change their slab. Because in their eye, if this scam was only just the Reholder, then that's all they need to fix. Now, you do bring up a good point. Like, why wouldn't they try to fix something? As far as like hollow foil sticker, something that shows the inner well has been separated from the case, something that has the serial number on the inner well that matches the case. All of those things 100% should be looked at. And that is what Matt said that they were looking at. But the question is, again, do they feel like they have to do anything? Really? I mean, until it affects their wallets, until it affects their business, like, they don't really need to change anything. And that kind of goes back to the other thing too. It's like, the whole, like, it's fine, get over it, move on. Business as usual. Send your books to CGC. Heritage auctions, record prices. Who cares? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. You guys know that Jurassic Park reference with Newman, slab is tampered. The slab is tampered over here. See, nobody cares. Nobody cares. I feel like that's the comic book market. And it doesn't really seem like it really, really matters all that much because everybody's just moving on. So therefore, CGC doesn't really need to change their case. And like I said, I mean, I think like it's probably a lot of work for them to change their case. I don't think that they'd be excited about it. Dodson, we've got Dodson over here. Nobody cares, man. Nobody cares. We got Beyond Wednesdays in the house. Brian McClay, what's going on, man? Cheers. Cheers to you, sir. If you guys don't know Beyond Wednesdays, friend of the show, Brian McClay, definitely go check out his show. He's always doing great conversations. Saturday nights, Wednesday, Friday, House of Stein, all that stuff. Really, really great. He had a really great conversation about a lot of the other stuff within the indie comic book world, that conversation. I don't know how much of my audience kind of dips into that. Like, I don't know how many of you guys out there follow the comics gate side of stuff. Now that starts to get really into like political drama. You want to talk about the clickbait, drama stuff. Like, I mean, that's really where it's at. And there's some interesting stuff going on right there. Very interesting stuff. You know, again, I highly recommend go check out Brian's show. I have a lot of thoughts on it as well. He did a really good job kind of laying it all out, the conversation with it. And yeah, I would definitely be interested in weighing in on some of those topics. Let's see. CGC only needs to in so much as it might instill confidence in their customers. That's a good point. That's a good point. And you know what, Jabe? I think one thing that I heard that I felt like was a good criticism towards Matt would have been something nice when he was on Dave and Manu's show would to be just more like, you know what it is? You know when like your team loses, you know, a football game and the quarterback goes up there, you know, and that quarterback threw 3 interceptions that game and lost them the game. And he just goes up there and says, you know what? I messed up. I played like crap. Shouldn't have done that. And it's not going to happen again. Next season, that will never happen again. And when a quarterback does that and takes that accountability, you say, you know what? I respect that. I respect that. I think that, not to say that Matt didn't do that. I think he did to some degree, but I think that would have been something coming out hard with a statement of, this has been such a disappointing thing. And we take so much pride in being such and such company. And we're so bummed that we let our community down. I think that would have been a really, really strong statement for sure. I don't remember if it was your video or not, but somebody mentioned using some kind of sticker or tab inside the case that would indicate whether it had been tampered with. Yeah, I think a lot of people had thrown around that idea. And I think that that's a great idea. I mean, again, it's not up to me to figure out how to do it. You know, it's easy for me to say, yeah, just put one of those tamper-proof stickers on it. Like, I don't know how they do that, but like, that seems like it would be something they could do, you know? And again, to what Jay was saying right here, instilling confidence. I think instilling confidence is the main thing. That is really the main thing. And some people could make the argument and maybe fairly say that CGC has done that by the actions they have taken. And I have to say that, you know, I've made my videos about it, covering it, and I've tried to give them their flowers when they deserve to get their flowers. You know, you can criticize a company when it's right to criticize them, and then you can give them props when it's right to give them props. And I gave them props when they initially had their statement about the scandal. You know, they just had their Instagram post or whatever, their press release, and they addressed it. That was good. We should be happy about that. And we should be happy that Matt had the conversation he did, and that they're doing the steps that they're doing. Some of the steps. There's still a lot of questions. There's still a lot of things to discuss. There's still a lot of 9-9 pre-screen possible shenanigans that we need to dissect, you know, but it's okay to give them props as well. And I think that they deserve some props every now and again. There was definitely a little lack of empathy for Matt in that interview. Yeah, I think so. Personally, I mean, I'm sure he cares. I've met him twice. He seems like a stand-up person to me that is very, very passionate about comic books. And if anything, I think his one, you know, thing that might go against him is the fact that like he's too casual. You know, he said the 9-9 thing. He was too casual about it, you know? So I think that we shouldn't hold that so much against him. But I do think that also ties in a lot to some of the comments that I've sort of seen, you know, people bouncing around where it's like, it's just $350. It's like, yeah, but if you're the person who has 10 of those books, that really sucks. You know what I mean? Like, I'm lucky that it wasn't me, but it could have been. And I think that could go a long way. with everybody here. It's like, yes, it's only $350. Get over it. It's only $350. Yeah. And it sucks if you're one of those people. It's crazy. Brian says, yep, being genuine, transparency, and being able to say you make mistakes and fixing them is a must for a company like CGC. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, they need a PR person or they need a PR person to go on shows. Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like Matt is the face, but he's a busy guy. He's got a lot of stuff. Like they probably could use like a PR person who's a little more like their, voice. And frankly, I think that they do have someone that does that because I reached out to them to get comments about, videos I was making and I didn't hear from them. So like, I don't know how it works over there, but again, it's a private company. Maybe they don't really care about this. I don't know. Mickey, Dave sent you a DM to discuss just in case you missed that in the chat. Oh, okay. I did miss that in the chat. What is it here? Let me see. Oh, that's interesting. Do they know about this one here? Well, let me just, I'll just say, yeah. Again, this goes back, maybe this is me going back to other parts in the conversation. There's books out there. I mean, it kind of relates to what we're talking about. I mean, there's still books out there that are being sold that are in this mix. Like again, and you know what? I have a bunch of dealer friends that called me about this and they were like, hey, I have one of those books and they're respected dealers as well. And it's like, they get these books too, because they just get them in trade and all this sort of stuff. So talking about this stuff is very, very important. I know that's kind of like not what we were discussing. We got a little bit off, but it's like, I don't know. Well, I'm going to table that one. We're not going to open that up, but going back to what we were saying about the 350 bucks, if it affects you, it affects you. And we need that empathy from people in the community, in the company. You should get a CGC award for helping spread. I mean, no, man. No, do we really need to address the hobby hero stuff? I genuinely think like it was done in good faith. Like, I'm not somebody who's like, oh, it's CGC trying to rub elbows with Dave and Manu. Like, no, I think it's genuinely was an earnest gesture that was done. And frankly, the guys deserve that. They found this very, very important. So I think that was cool. It was just a little bit clunky, clunky in the middle of things, I feel like there's definitely more than one person pulling the scam. I've seen videos where people talk about CPR and books and being able to replace rusty staples, and CGC gave a blue label. Well, here's the thing, Kevin. Okay, this is something I think is really interesting. And I'm curious to hear kind of what you guys think about this. A lot of people have talked about on the boards and things like that. I've had some conversations about the micro trimming, some of the other scandals that have occurred in comic books. And I might do some more conversations about this later, but there's some interesting stuff. And I've had not debates, but I've had discussions with people talking about like which was worse. And in a lot of ways, some of the previous scandals were worse than what is currently happening. But in a lot of ways, this scandal is worse. And so what you're saying right there, where there's people swapping out rusty staples and things like that and getting blue labels. I mean, like, look, guys, we gotta realize, yeah, it's not perfect out there. We're in the wild, wild west of collectibles. There's no SEC, there's no governing body that is regulating this stuff. CGC is just a company. So people are tampering with their slabs. People are swapping out staples. And people are people. And graders are human. And they miss stuff too. And it's going to happen. One of the previous scandals that had happened in this micro trimming thing was this person was able to finally trim books and make them appear better than they were. And they were so good at it. They had such a technical skill to do it that graders couldn't catch it. Versus this scam, which was, say, we don't know specifically, but say it was going through a Reholder program, and they were able to take advantage of a flaw in the system. So on the one hand, you have a scam that is being done with a highly technical skill that can't be caught. And then on this one, you have an abuse of a system that is a blind spot in the company. So which one is worse? On the one hand, you could say, well, the system being abused in the Reholder is worse because it's the system. It's a system failure, meaning anyone could do it if they know how to do it. On the other hand, you have one where it's literally, it's undetectable. This person cannot see it. Graders cannot spot it. Similar to like what you're saying here. If someone knows how to swap staples or whatever it is they know how to do, CGC can't catch it. So is it worse? Is it better? I don't know. But the reality is there's probably tons of stuff that happen. And frankly, we don't know about it. And you know why we don't know about it? Because CGC doesn't know about it. Because they can't catch it. So yeah, there's a lot of it. There's a lot of scandal stuff. And I think that that's the other part too, where it's like, I don't know if I necessarily live. I don't know if I have this thought or feeling that CGC shouldn't be getting fooled with this stuff. I'm under no illusion that things don't get, what do you say? Like things don't get past them, so I think I collect with that sort of understanding. You know what I mean? And again, this has been existing even before CGC. There's always been shenanigans in this hobby. I mean, I bought that Tales of Suspense 39. I made a video about it, how I got a purple label. It was sold to me as a complete unrestored. And it came back 0.5 restored. So there's stuff. There's, people passing stuff and you need kind of grading and it's not perfect and everything is flawed and all this stuff. And what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Let's see. Binky says, fraudulent misrepresentation is criminal and needs to be investigated by law enforcement, not CGC private investigators. I agree with you, Binky. But here's also the problem. And this is what I will say. This is what I will say personally. I don't know if people out there have ever had scams or stuff going on or whatever it is, but maybe you guys know or saw my videos where I talked about how I got scammed with my books. And I did everything. I filed with the police. I filed cyber theft. I did all sorts of crime investigation, USPS insurance claims, USPS fraud, crossing state lines scandal. I hired a private investigator. I did a police report. I filed with the FBI. I did all of those things. And you know what? The truth is, I'm still waiting. I don't know if anybody took that stuff seriously. I don't know where it is. People have my files. A detective has my thing. Who really knows? Because guess what? They probably don't care. Like my $5,000 of comic book theft compared to the murder investigation that they're working on doesn't matter to them. So what I will say about that, as far as the victims are concerned, it's my opinion that if you're in a position where you can send your books back into CGC and get compensated for it, I would absolutely take the money and count your blessings. I realize there's conversation out there that people think, well, you don't want to release your books because you need it so you can have a civil trial and file and all that stuff. Everyone's different. Everyone's situation is different. You can do whatever you want to do. But if it were me, and it were my books, and I knew that I could either get them replaced or get the money back without having to go through all the, hoops, I would do that 1,000%. Now, back to what you're saying right here. Internal investigation. Yeah, we don't know what internal investigation is. We're never going to really know, right? We're never really going to know. And who knows what internal investigation really means? But who is going to lead the investigation? Now, there could be people who, are working at, 3-letter companies, and they're investigating all types of collectible fraud, scam stuff. And they're building a mountain of evidence and case for a lot of stuff. And those are the people that are really going to know. And those are the people that are going to be able to eventually come away with their own investigations. But that's what I think. That's me sharing my personal feeling on it. CGC was responsible here because of a lack of Reholder oversight. I agree. I mean, I think that we don't have to actually know to assume that, yeah, I think that probably the Reholder team got really lazy. And even though they were supposed to be regrading stuff, they just weren't. That's probably what happened, And it does begs the question. So does that mean that other people potentially are getting away with this too? Like, yes. But also, I guess it's not a problem because you're going to have senior graders in the Reholder department. Then, yeah, I guess it's not a problem anymore. That's how they feel. PSA over the years has infamously on several occasions has fallen victim to scams, especially when it comes to catching trimming. It's the talk of the town for a few months. Then we all forget. Yeah. Swish rips. I think that's, wasn't it the Otani card? I think I know about this. I don't know if Neo's still in the chat. I know he covered this. But trimming in sports cards, guys, huge deal. And PSA, I think, compensated the person that they found out that had bought something that was fraudulent. So not too dissimilar. I mean, it's going to happen. Shout out to Comic Journey. What's going on, Journey? The investigation part of it is coming from the insurance company. I can almost guarantee that. Well, yeah. And that's the thing too, is like, it's definitely coming from the insurance company because CGC's got to figure it out, what they owe people, what they got to pay people, what the damages are. But I don't necessarily know that that means that we're ever going to hear or we're going to find out. I don't think the insurance company is going to let us know. Yeah, those are all the right things. They're certainly going to care about $1 million worth of swap. I hope so. Yeah, again, I'm just using my little example as a thing. Clearly, my thing was not nearly the value of what is going on here. But there might be people who have, like, say, one of those books, like one ASM 300, and it's like they had a 9.8, and it's like a 3K book. And it's like, if they can just get 3K, like that, personally, I would just get 3K from CGC. That's what I personally would do. My file's in the back file cabinet somewhere. Yeah, it's definitely, my file is definitely under the big stack of files underneath the giant coffee pot that the detective is constantly drinking. I bet you the IRS investigating all the YouTube and Instagram auctions, making everyone pay with friends and family on PayPal. You know what? Report it, guys. Report your stuff. Make sure you look. Make sure you get your accounting straight. We got EGS Comics in the house. What's going on, Tony? The only way CGC is going to make changes for the better is if they lose their stranglehold on the secondary market, period. Until then, they know they can pretty much do whatever they want. Yeah, absolutely. Like there's only two ways that CGC changes. Either one, this affects their bottom line, or two, people have conversations and they feel a little bit of the pressure to protect their brand. I think that that's important. I just don't understand this idea of not talking about it. I just don't get it. Because I think the reason that CGC did what they did and responded how they responded so far is because people were talking about it. Those are the two ways that the company will do something: is if one, people talk about it, or two, it affects their wallet. So the insurance company doesn't give a rat's ass about what the public thinks. They just want to pay out as little as humanly possible without getting sued. Yeah, 100%. 100%. And this is the other thing too, just going back again to the fair market value conversation. Like I don't quite understand some of the issues people had with, like, of course they're going to pay you fair market value of the book today. Now, I did see one comment that said, well, if you were going to criminally sue the scammer, you wouldn't be suing them for the fair market value. You would be suing them for what they scammed you out of, and plus damages. I saw that in my comment when I said that I understood what the fair market value is. And yes, there is a trade-off here. Potentially, if you bought a book for $5,000 that is now worth $2,000, and CGC is only going to pay you $2,000, or they're only going to buy you the book for $2,000, or whatever it is. Yeah, in theory, you're out $5,000. And if you maybe could find the scammer and do a civil suit with them, you could maybe get that $5,000 that you paid. But that's, again, a lot of ifs if you can actually get to that point. My thing was, I personally, again, this is just what I would do. I would be more okay, just buy me my book back. And I understand why they would give you today's fair market value, because it's whatever today's fair market value is. Or like whatever, they're just going to go onto eBay or Heritage or whatever, and they're just going to buy a book and say, is this okay? It's all the same. Here's another 9.8. And I would just take that. You know, you bought a book. It has unrealized losses. And at the end of this is all, or at the end of it all, you're going to have that book in your collection again. And you'll still have unrealized losses on it. You know what I mean? But yeah, they're going to try to pay as minimum as possible. And this is why you need to have a fight with the insurance company that you talk to. You need to explain what you think your books are worth. You know what I mean? Like, and you need to tell them too, don't just GPA me. You know what I mean? Like if you have a ASM, let's say you have that ASM 3, that's the 7.0, and they go into GPA and they say, well, the last sale was, $12,000. So we'll give you $12,000. I think you should tell them, no, I want the book now. So, because it's one thing if it's like, yeah, the last sale was $12,000 at an auction that ended at 3 a.m. But if I had to go into eBay right now and buy ASM 3 in a 7.0 or whatever it actually was, and the lowest buy it now price is $20,000, then give me 20 so I can buy that, or buy that book for me. You know what I mean? Like, don't just get the money that presumes whatever the last sold was. Because even if you just say you wanted the cash, you need to have enough cash where you literally could buy the book right now. I want it right now. Plus tax, plus shipping, plus any associated fees. Like, I want enough money to get me this book in my hands today. That's the type of stuff you got to fight for. That's the type of, conversation you need to have with the insurance company. Same with like ASM 300. I mean, I don't know how many ASM 300 9/8s are on the census, but whatever the last GPA sale is going to be like some auction, right? That ended on Heritage, on their weekly auction, where frankly, people who shop on Heritage don't really care that much about ASM 300 9/8. And so maybe it's like 3,200 or something. You know what I mean? But then like the cheapest buy it now on eBay right now might be like 38. So it's like, I want 38. That's the type of fight you have to sort of do with them so that you get the book right now. I want it in my hands now, and if you're a dealer of that book, you should be calling CGC and say, hey guys, I will replace all their books. Hey, hey guys, you need books replaced? You just call me up, man. Call me up. It's like this, Derek, right here. Dealers that still have 2021 Walt prices. Yeah, they're like, hey, call me up, man. I got your ASM 300 right here. I got it for you right here. Frankly, I don't think is it really even going to be that big a difference if CGC writes a check for 2021 prices? Does it really matter to them? I mean, they're like $1 billion company. Like, I feel like they can just cut that check pretty easily. Yeah, I would ask for fair value plus shipping, plus the buyer's fee, like what Heritage would make you pay. Yeah, everything. I want zero out of pocket, book in hand. And I don't care what the GPA is. Find me the book and get it in my mailbox. Let's see. Insurance isn't going to cover lazy reholder encapsulation techs. I mean, they're just going to cut people a check, I think. Just going through here. 99 pre-screen is not happening. Shout out to OJ. Yeah. Again, we're just talking, guys, right? We're just having a conversation. We don't know that it's happening. It was literally an afterthought thing that has been thrown out. And frankly, it shouldn't be that surprising, right? CGC clearly, internally, when they have their meetings, are talking about, all right, guys, what should we be pulling out in 2024? Should we do a CGC 99 pre-screen? Well, I don't know. Throw it on the board. Might be a good idea. So it's just spitballing. It's not a real thing yet. But if it does become a real thing, man, oh man. Man, oh man. What happens if CGC takes back the book, gives you the money for it, regraded it, and sells it to recoup the money back? Would there be an uproar if they grade the book too high? Yeah, I've heard people talking about like, oh, well, CGC will just they'll just get a 9.6, or they'll get your book back and they'll just call it a 9.8, even if it is a 9.4 or whatever. It's like, I don't buy that. I feel like that's more work, for them to like be shady on their whole scam thing. Again, it's $1 billion company. Just write whatever check. This makes everything go away. Just write that check. So, and I don't think that they want the headache of like, oh yeah. This person sent in their 9.8, which was really a 9.4, but let's just tell them it's a 9.8. Like, imagine what would happen to their brand if that came out. That would be such a dumb thing for them to do. They just might do it. No, I'm just kidding. CG said they're going to be using books as evidence. Yeah, I think that makes sense to me, that they would use it as evidence. Binky says evidence in a civil case, not a criminal one. I'm not a lawyer. I can't really get into it, but again, it sounds right to me that they need to put this all together for evidence or insurance or whatever it is they want to gather all this stuff. CGC started sending out template emails to people who sent their books back. This week, I think they're going to have conversations with the owners of those books. Yeah. Oh, very cool, Dave. I know somebody who has been affected. We probably know the same person, and I've been shooting texts back and forth and stuff like that. So I'm sure it'll be good for us to, at the very least, I think people want to know, like, how's that process going? So if we find out how it goes, we'll certainly talk about it. The frustrating part about this one is it's not some unknown cold case that requires a bunch of investigation. eBay has dude's address and social, CGC has shipping address, etc. Yeah. There's a lot, and we're not going to know everything. It's going to be a long investigation. That's what I would think. They get the evidence books back so they could tell us what they're going to do with them. They'll resell all the confiscated books to recoup anything they can, even if it's all purple and green labels. That's possible, you know. There might be some, you know, I would imagine, right? But that's not, like, I don't think that that's necessarily like a shady thing, right? Like, if you have, like, you know, a car that a criminal used to rob a bank and it gets confiscated by the police, then they auction that stuff off and then it gets reused back into the market or public or something. So, you know, there's probably something similar that's going to happen with some of those books. You know, maybe they'll call up one of their dealer friends and then they'll just sell them, you know, at 40% fair market value and at least get 40% fair market value for whatever they are. Let's see here. The big loss for the corp is from a class action suit against CGC. Yeah, they don't want that to happen. And I don't think we're going to be there. I don't think we're going to get there, you know, because like, what do people want? Do we want to make it right? Do we want CGC to exist? Do we want the criminals to get caught? Yes, yes, and yes. Right? I think that is mostly true to all those questions. I think there are a lot of people that don't like grading companies, but there are a lot of people that do. I like CGC. I do. I like CBCS. I think grading is important. You can't have online shopping without grading. I mean, and if you're not getting ripped off by a grading company, you're going to get ripped off by an online dealer. So welcome to collectibles, right? We just need CGC to live up to a standard, you know, and we're going to hold them to that standard. Hopefully. All right, guys. I've been going almost 2 hours. I think it's been a good conversation. I hope it's been a good conversation. I feel like I just went to Rambly Rant Town for 100 minutes. I don't know if anyone else has any questions in the chat, but back to the original topic at hand. Would a CGC 99 pre-screen tank the market? No, it wouldn't tank the market. Would it cause massive volatility amongst particular comic books? Absolutely. Absolutely. If there are books out there that are 99s, those ones for sure. You add any single book you add to the census for those books, obviously affects the fair market value. And then it gets exponentially so, right? If you have people that can crack a press. That said, will this eventually be a thing? Will 99 pre-screens be a thing? Will 10 pre-screens be a thing? People have said that they've been talking about this for decades, that this isn't really that new as a conversation thing. and that it's just something that has been thrown around. And yeah, that's very true. It's just something right now that's been thrown around. It's not actually a thing. We're just talking about it because we're talking about it. And maybe CGC watches this and they read the comments and they see your guys' voice and they or read your guys' thoughts. And, and then they decide what it is that they want to do about it. But based on what we looked at with some of those graphs and stuff that Derek sent, I mean, this is clearly their biggest growth potential is in modern comic books, modern comic slabbing. And so they're going to give more 9.9s and 10s for them. And it makes sense that they should do 9.9 and 10 prescreens. I mean, maybe that's what it'll be. Maybe it'll be ultra modern only 9.9, 10 prescreen. How would you guys feel about that? Only ultra modern, meaning 2020 and newer. That's the only one that has a prescreen. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe that makes sense. But with that being said, I think I'm going to close out the stream. There were other topics we didn't get into. It was just a spicy one. I figure I put in the little description down there. Maybe we could talk about Echo. But then I remembered nobody wants to talk about Echo because it's Echo. I'm just kidding. I think Echo was great. I think it was great. But everybody only wants to talk about CGC. Okay? That's what people want to talk about. That's all I got for this one. Again, guys, thank you all so much for hanging out with me this Sunday night. I hope you guys had a lot of fun in the chat. Really, really appreciated it. If you guys don't mind, unrelated to our conversation here today, if you guys are looking for, a good read, an excellent comic book, Sanity, Rise of the Occult, V2 Kickstarter pre-launch page, go give it a follow. It's in the description, written by me. Issue 1 came out. We got it funded last year. Very, very excited. It was an honor to get that book out there. And we got issues 2 and 3 coming out. And I'm super, super excited about this. This will be really, really good. I'm very, very excited. Been working super hard on this, cooking it in the oven. So if you guys are interested in it, I love Craftian pulp adventure. I'm taking it back old school, taking it back to the pulps where comics originated from. OG storytelling. That's the inspiration. We're going back to the roots of comic storytelling. That's been my MO for creating Sanity. And I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys are not disappointed. Thank you guys all so much for watching tonight, hanging out with me. I see that there are Echo fans in the chat. I'm sorry. I'm such a jerk, guys. Sometimes I'm just way too facetious for my own good. But again, I appreciate you guys hanging out tonight. Thank you all so much for weighing in on this topic. Obviously, lots more to discuss with CGC 9.9s. We'll see if it ever really does happen. It'll be very, very interesting to follow. And again, we'll certainly have more conversations about CGC in the future. And we'll see what happens if there is more to be reported on with this whole situation very, very soon. Anyways, thanks so much for hanging, guys. Talk soon. Like, comment, subscribe. See y'all in the next stream. Peace.